The luxury car rolled to a smooth halt on a narrow dirt road, tires crunching the loose gravel. Its black coat gleamed even in the thick smog that hung over the slums. Inside, Aaron Keller, the youngest self-made millionaire in the city, adjusted his sunglasses and glanced at the pin on his assistant's tablet. "This is it?" he asked. "Yes, sir," the assistant confirmed, nervously shifting in his seat. "The charity you asked us to sponsor is based just a few steps from here." Aaron gave a slight nod, but his eyes weren't on the screen. They were fixed ahead, on the crooked, makeshift homes that lined the street like wounded soldiers. Tin sheets patched holes, worn-out tarps fluttered like flags, the kind of place he hadn't seen in decades. He stepped out, expensive shoes touching dirt for the first time in years. Children darted past him barefoot, chasing a dented soda can. A dog barked from somewhere behind a pile of bricks. Smells of open fire, damp earth, and old curry hit him all at once. But it wasn't the smell that gripped his chest. It was a sound. A soft, humming melody floated through the humid air, gentle, aching, familiar. Aaron froze. The tune curled around his mind like a ghost. It was the lullaby. Her lullaby. He turned sharply, following the sound like a magnet. Each step was uncertain, breath shallow, as if the melody might vanish if he moved too fast. He ducked past laundry lines, ducked under corrugated metal roofs, until he reached a tattered plastic curtain flapping outside a crooked wooden door. There, under a roof of layered plastic sheets held down by bricks and rope, sat an old woman on a rusted stool. She was singing. Not for anyone in particular, just to herself, hands folding a pile of donated clothes, eyes half closed as though remembering something sweet and distant. Aaron felt like the world had stopped spinning. He knew that face. Not from photographs, not from recent memory, but from the quietest moments of his boyhood, when the nights were too long and the mansion was too cold, and no one remembered his birthday except her. "Mama Josie," he whispered. She looked up slowly, blinking through the dim light. For a moment, nothing moved. Then her eyes widened, but not with recognition. Just surprise at seeing a tall, sharply dressed man standing in her doorway. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked gently, her voice cracked by time. Aaron couldn't speak. His lips trembled as childhood came rushing back. Her voice, her lullabies, her stories whispered during thunderstorms, her soft hands wiping his tears when his parents were away again. And now, she lived here? In this question mark under a plastic roof? He took a shaky step forward. "Don't you remember me?" She peered closer. No, I'm sorry. My eyes, they're not what they used to be." Aaron knelt before her, slowly removing his sunglasses. His voice cracked. "It's me. It's Aaron. The little boy you used to sing to sleep." The clothes slipped from her hands. Her lips parted. She reached out, touched his face with frail fingers, and gasped. The melody stopped, but the memory didn't. Tears streamed down both their cheeks as she whispered, "My little boy." Josie sat across from him inside her tiny home, lit by a single bulb that flickered from time to time. The walls were patched with cardboard and torn curtains. A kettle hissed quietly over a tiny gas stove in the corner. Aaron looked around, stunned that someone who had once been part of his world now lived like this. "I thought you disappeared," he said softly, hands folded in his lap. "One day you were just gone. No one told me why." Josie gave a weak smile, pouring them both a cup of tea. The cup she handed Aaron was chipped. "Your mother let me go," she said gently, as if it were the weather. "Said you didn't need a nanny anymore. That I was too close to you." Too affectionate. Aaron's jaw tightened. Too affectionate? She had been the only warmth in that cold, sterile mansion. His parents were always away. Parties, boardrooms, interviews. Josie had been the one who noticed when he was sick, who stayed up when he had nightmares, who called him my sunshine when no one else cared whether he smiled or not. You didn't fight it? You didn't try to stay? He asked. I wanted to, she said, her voice trembling. But I was just the help, Aaron, and I didn't want to make things harder for you. I knew if I made noise, they'd turn you against me. He swallowed hard, pain welling in his chest. They told me you left because you got a better job. Josie looked away, eyes glistening. I never worked for another family again. After your home, I couldn't. Nothing ever compared. A long silence hung between them. Then she said something that shattered him even more. I came to your high school graduation, stood at the back, outside the fence. I saw you in your robe, smiling, shaking hands. You looked so proud. I whispered a prayer for you that night. Aaron blinked quickly, wiping away a tear. I didn't know, he whispered. She nodded. I never wanted you to. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. He looked around again at the crumbling room, the floor made of scrap wood, the ceiling sagging in places. His voice shook. Why are you living like this? Didn't you have savings? A pension? Josie let out a soft sigh. I used what I had for my son. He got sick. I sold everything to get him treated. But he didn't make it. Aaron's heart broke all over again. He reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. You gave everything, and never asked for anything back. I was just doing what I loved, she said, smiling through the pain. Loving a child like he was my own. Aaron stared at her, a storm of emotions surging in his chest. Guilt, gratitude, anger, love, and a burning determination. You won't stay here another night, he said firmly. Aaron, no, he cut in. You don't get to argue this. I owe you more than I can ever repay. She chuckled, still gentle. I never did it for repayment. But I'm still going to give it, he said, standing up. Because you gave me something I didn't have, even with all that money, love. He stepped outside and called his driver. Cancel the rest of my meetings. Bring the team here now. I want a property bought, furnished, and prepped within 48 hours. Josie peeked out from the door, stunned. Aaron, what are you doing? He turned to her with a soft, warm smile. You gave me a home in your heart. Now I'm giving you one in this world. The next morning, Josie awoke to something she hadn't heard in years. Laughter, hammering, and a group of men hauling in furniture and tiles. Confused, she stepped out, shielding her eyes from the sunlight. Aaron stood in front of her home, now partially dismantled, pointing toward a digital blueprint on a tablet. Workers surrounded him, nodding. What is this? She asked, still in her nightdress. Aaron turned, his face lit up with energy. It's your new home, right here. I'm building it exactly where your memories live, but the structure will be brand new. She shook her head, tears forming again. Aaron, you don't have to. I do, Josie. This is not charity. This is honor. You built my heart. Now I build your house. By evening, her old shack was gone. In its place, a prefab crew was laying the foundation for a modern, single-story cottage, complete with a wraparound porch, wide windows, and garden space. Aaron had hand-picked the design. It needed to feel like comfort, like you. But he didn't stop there. Over the next week, Josie's life transformed completely. The cottage was completed in record time. The walls were painted a soft cream color, her favorite. The kitchen had polished wood countertops. A reading nook sat beneath a sunlit window, stocked with her favorite novels. many of which Aaron remembered her reading out loud to him as a boy. But what truly broke Josie was what she found on the bedroom wall. A photo. It was a blown-up snapshot of her holding a 4-year-old Aaron in the backyard of their old home. He was laughing, his arms around her neck, her face beaming. Aaron watched her from the doorway as she pressed her fingers gently to the image. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "I found it in one of my mom's old photo albums, hidden, like you were meant to be forgotten." Josie wiped away tears. "I never thought you'd remember me, let alone find me." Aaron stepped into the room and sat beside her on the bed. "I didn't just remember you, Josie. You're the reason I know how to love. You were my only parent growing up. My mother gave me a mansion, but you gave me a home." That night, he made dinner himself. Pasta, her favorite, though he burned the garlic bread. They sat on her new porch as fireflies danced across the yard, reminiscing. Josie spoke of her son, of her quiet years working at a community kitchen, of how she once watched Aaron on television receiving an award and cried until dawn. He listened. Then, reaching into his bag, he handed her a thick envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside was a document. "I started a foundation this week," he said softly. "The Josie Hart Foundation. It's for women like you. Nannies, caregivers, teachers, unsung heroes. They'll get housing, pensions, and the love society forgot to give them." Her lips quivered. "I put you on the board. You'll help lead it." Josie began to cry, full sobs now, not from sorrow, but from something else entirely. "You're changing lives, Aaron." He smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "No, Josie, you did. I'm just following your example." As they sat beneath the stars, Aaron felt something he hadn't in years. Peace. Not the kind that money brings, but the kind that only comes from knowing you've come full circle, from being the lost boy in the nursery to becoming the man who never forgot the woman who held him through the dark. Months passed, and Josie's little house became a symbol, not just of kindness rewarded, but of dignity restored. Her story spread across news stations and social media, not because Aaron was a billionaire, but because a forgotten woman, once covered in plastic sheets to escape the rain, now sat on a board of directors beside mayors and CEOs, speaking on behalf of caregivers who had no voice. When she first stepped onto a stage in New York to talk about the Josie Hart Foundation, she wore a modest lavender dress. As she approached the podium, nervous hands trembling, she paused, until Aaron, sitting in the front row, smiled at her and mouthed, "You've done this for me before." She spoke for 10 minutes. About forgotten women, about the magic of lullabies, about how love doesn't end when the paychecks do, and she ended with the line, "When I used to sing Aaron to sleep, I never imagined the world would one day hear the echo." The room stood and applauded. Some cried. Many had nannies of their own, suddenly realizing they hadn't called them in years. Back in her new home, life slowed into something beautiful. Josie planted a garden, spent weekends teaching music at the local community center, and even adopted an old Labrador from the shelter that followed her around like a shadow. Every Sunday, Aaron visited. One such evening, he arrived holding a small black box. Josie raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" He opened it slowly. Inside, nestled in velvet, was a simple gold pendant. Engraved were 3 words. "You raised me." Josie couldn't speak. She simply hugged him tight, tearful, wordless. That night, as they sat under the stars again, the garden glowing with soft solar lights, Josie did something she hadn't done in decades. She sang. That same lullaby, software slow, cracked in places but filled with warmth. Aaron closed his eyes, and for a moment he wasn't the billionaire anymore. He was just a boy again, safe, loved. And this time, the world wasn't silent. Behind them, her neighbors listened quietly. Lights flicked on in distant windows. Someone recorded it. The next day, it would go viral as the song that changed a billionaire's life. But Josie didn't care. All she cared about was the peace she felt, that the child she once rocked to sleep now stood tall, not just in success, but in soul.